Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That was Melissa last time. I still haven't sat with FSIM. I still want to, and Mark keeps denying me. No, I will not talk to David FINEDAY.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Right. Welcome to Homelands on CFCR 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory. This is your host, Auntie Andy, and I will be your host today on Homelands. And we have our guest, David FINEDAY. But first, it's our September show during FNPhasis. So we will be reminding you throughout our show to please support Homelands by making a one-time or monthly contribution to CFCR to support community radio. And don't forget, there are great prizes. Go to fmphasis.ca for more details, or go to cfcr.ca/donate. You can e-transfer any amount to cfcr@cfcr.ca, and it will be auto-deposited. Donations of $25 or more are eligible for either prize packages, like there's t-shirts, mugs, magnets, or a tax receipt, your choice. Larger donations are eligible for prize packages too. There are great prizes available at 4 tiers. $25 and up gets you entered in one prize package 1. $75 and up gets you in for prize packages 1 and 2. $150 and up gets you entered in prize packages 1, 2, and 3. And $250 and up gets you entered in all 4 amazing prize package draws. It's a great deal. So donate today and support great community radio, including Homelands. Now to our guest, David FINEDAY. David's been a guest with us a couple of times on Homelands, and he is a well-known advocate on homelessness in the city. And he descends from War Chief FINEDAY, and so he describes himself as a hereditary war chief, and he takes care of the homeless, the addicted, those suffering on the streets, and he's passionate about his position as a 60 scoop survivor, as well as someone who's experienced homelessness firsthand. And right now he'll tell you more about his story, but he's facing it once again. So David, take it away and share with us what you would like.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. My name is David FINEDAY. I'm from Sweetgrass First Nations, Treaty 6 territory, Turtle Island. That's how I like to introduce myself. Just like they did a long time ago. There was no Canada, there was no US of A, there was no borders. But come here to talk to you about homelessness. On September 1st, I became homeless. They would not renew my lease. There was no reason. There was nothing written on there, just nope, we're not going to renew your lease. This started 6 months ago. Well, actually, it started a year ago when I complained that the property, we didn't have hot water for 10 days. And I don't know if you ever lived without hot water for 10 days, but it was quite something. On the 10th day, I phoned the fire department. They have a confidential line. And I found that number and I phoned there and I told them a confidential story. 20 minutes later, I got a call from our property manager. I can't swear on the radio, but he said, "You effing rat." I was like, "What?" He said, "You're an effing rat. You got a 7-day notice." I was like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" He said, "You phoned the fire department on us." I said, "How do you know? That's a confidential line." I said, I didn't argue. I said, "Well, tell me the truth. What happened?" He said, "Yeah, we know you're a rat. You phoned the line. That line, now you got a 24-hour notice." Wow. He said, "I'm coming to your house at 1 o'clock and we're going to talk." It just so happened I had a meeting with QSAR from the university, and I do research on homeless people. question them, ask them questions, whatever. I went to that meeting and I was just shook right up. And Sarah from the city seen how I was, and she picked up her phone and said, and she started dialing numbers. Pretty soon there was how many people there that wanted to help, and I'm glad. I told them my story and everything about the hot water, no mailboxes, no buzzers, the things that were wrong with the building. And at that time I was paying monthly, but after I did that, they put me on a 6-monthly lease. They raised my rent from $700 to $850. My lease was over on August 31st, and they sent me a thing that they're not renewing my lease. There was no reason, nothing on there. So on August, about the 28th, I put all my stuff into storage, and I'm squatting at my house right now. They changed the lock on the front door, so I couldn't get in. I had to go to Rentalsman and make application. It was 3:15, I believe, on the 8th when we went there. And we didn't get out of there till 5 o'clock. That's how much paperwork, computer, SHA numbers, and I don't even know. I have to give a shout out to Safeway Toten Outreach, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have went out through all that paperwork and phone calls and applying for numbers and all that. I'm blind. I'm 70 years old and I don't computer or whatever that is. But they couldn't believe what I had to go through. And then I get locked out when I go back and I couldn't get in. So they put me up in a motel for the night, and I got a phone call 9 o'clock the next morning. David, go pick up your key. I said, oh, right on. They let me squat there until the 16th. And then on the 16th, we had a hearing, and they put it off until the 29th. So I had to subpoena the fire department so they could give evidence on what happened. I was at that meeting and I was just shook up, and they made some phone calls. All of a sudden, what is that, chief inspector from the fire department, Yvonne, showed up there, and what's happening, David? So I told her. I said, I don't even want to go home. He's coming to my house at 1 o'clock. I said, and I was vibrating. I was just shook up. She said, well, I'll go with you. And I was like, what? Yeah, I'll go wait with you at your house. I said, okay. Sure enough, she came with me. 1 o'clock came, there was a knock on the door. Yeah, come in. He opened the door and he just lit up on me right there. Yvonne was sitting behind this little partition on the wall and kind of like hiding, not hiding, but she was just sitting there. And then she heard what happened and she peeks around the corner. Hey, come sit over here. Come look at this. And she brought out her tablet or what, I don't know what that was. And she said, look, read this. And he started reading. Yeah. Heat, fridge, stove, running water, and hot water. And he just shut up right there. I don't know how much the landlords really checked the Tenancy Act out, but hot water was there and we were without it for 10 days. And when I complained, I believe that's why that they're not renewing my lease. They said they have evidence against me for many people coming in and out of my house and everything. I run a smudge on program where I am available 24/7. I do not turn anybody down. I don't close my door on anybody. And as homeless people, that's what we're lacking, the support of the community, of the churches, of the government, the provincial government, of the federal government to come down to the street, come and talk to me. I've taken many people on tours and they see it all, but nobody wants to talk up and say, we've seen this, we've seen this, we've seen this. City council, one of city council came out with me and he's seen it all. We went out at midnight. He's seen it all. The troubles that the girls, the women have, the troubles that the men have. How would you say that? Getting from one place to the other. Couples who don't want to be broke up. They don't want to be sent over here and over there. That's what they were doing at 10 o'clock. They were splitting up all these couples. When we went out that night, we went out and I went and got a box of hot chocolate. I said, let's get some hot chocolate. Let's go talk to these people. So sure enough, the first place we went was to the Friendship Center. And we went in, or there was people sitting out the door, out on the ground, on the pavement there. When we went in there was 3 guys sitting there. Like, oh, hey, bud. Yeah, I knew that one guy. We went in and talked there for about half an hour to those people at the Friendship Center. It was real good. Like they have a real awesome program. And then we came out and that guy said, hey, can you give me a ride to St. Mary's Church where the guys stay? I said, I don't know. Hey, bud, from city council, hey, can we give him a ride to St. Mary's? And he said, sure. We got it. I got in the car. He got in the car and the back door opened and like 4 people just slammed in the car. And he's like, what's going on? He got real excited. And no, we just want to ride to St. Mary's. And 4 guys piled in the back of that little car and we gave him a ride to St. Mary's. We get to St. Mary's and they go in, but there was foreigners running that place. And if you've ever run into situations like that, it's not good. That one guy that was a security guy. I worked with him 10 years ago. Yeah. I was department head of groceries at the store and they started working for me. And he looks at me, we don't have to listen to you. You're a dumb Indian. Where do people like that get their attitudes from? And he was a foreigner. What are they taught in their country? 2 days later, okay, you got to do this for me and do this. No, we don't have to listen to you. I went to my boss and I told him. He never said nothing. So I just walked. That was it. I quit. They never reprimanded that guy for talking like that. Well, there was 2 of them actually. There was women that worked there also, and they were in their language, whatever they were telling them, don't talk like that, don't be like that. But those guys in their country, they're the toughest, or they're the, I don't even know. And they look down on women, they look down on people, which is, to me, that's no good. I don't look down on anybody. If anybody's going to look down on anybody, it's the creator. I sit down there eye to eye with them and I talk with them. I pray with them. I smudge with them. To me, that's truth and reconciliation. When you can sit down there and smudge and talk to them, it brings out laughter, brings out tears, crying. You have to understand why we're where we are, what we had to go through. I'm 70 years old and I could sit here and talk forever on some of the things that I've been through. But it's not about me. It's about all these homeless people, all these other people out there. Mine is only one story. There's 3,000 stories out there. And if you can listen to them, then you would be able to understand what's happening. Why did we get sent on to reserves? Put on wire fences around our land and say, yep, you gotta stay here. You got a piece of paper? If you got a piece of paper, then we can let you off the reserve. This is really facts, man. I know. A few years back, I was in Newfoundland, and it was quite a story from there. You're Indian? Yeah, I have long hair. Oh, is there any Indians around here? No, there's no Indian. My mushroom used to be a Indian, but I'm not Indian. They do not recognize First Nations people there until 1958 in Newfoundland. You could go kill a First Nations person and collect 25 cents. Like, why are things like that in history? What is the answer for all of this? What has been happening to our people? Put down, turned down, kicked around, told to go over here, go do this. Things need to change, or they are changing. There's a group called Seaway Tilton Outreach that is a street outreach, and they work out of Station 20 and out of Comfy. And it's about time they put people like that out on the street. Our people, First Nations people, where they come up to you, they greet you. How are you doing? What do you need? Do you need help? Do you need this? Do you want a coffee? You want need a sandwich? Like they're friendly, they're caring, they're loving, and a lot of their relatives out there. And they respect their relatives, and the relatives respect them. That's why they work so good. It's not, what are you doing here? What do you want? They make you feel at home. They want to know what's wrong with you. They want to help you. And that's the whole difference. If you want to be there, or you have to be there for a paycheck. I'm not there for a paycheck. I'm there for the people. I could do a lot of volunteer meetings and all that, committees, and I sit in a meeting, committee meeting, and there's 10 people besides me, and they're all getting paid for it. That's where I find a problem. If it was from their heart, they'd be there. They'd want to be there. They don't have to be there. They want to be there. That's the whole difference on the street. They don't want to be there. None of them want to be there homeless. They have to be. If you can understand that. How can we have to help them? If you want a job, if you want stuff like that, step out, come for a tour with me in the community. I'd be very happy to take anybody out there. I've taken many people out there already from across Canada, from the housing, national housing, something like that, I'm not sure. But I've taken them out there and I've shown them everything. Like I said, when I took city council out there, he's seen everything, men, women, transportation, couples that were out there that will not break up. They won't go here and they won't let each other go because they're family. If you notice in all these encampments, those are families in there. They all look after each other. They all take care of each other. They're family. They go in there once a week and they tear everything apart. They take all their belongings, everything that they've ever had in their whole life, and it's in the garbage. Every week they do that. It's to the point where I want to go make a motion at City Hall where if you're gonna displace them, then replace them somewhere. I believe there's a few places that are doing that already. On CBC radio this morning, I heard about Smithers, BC, and about Barrie, Ontario, where this crisis is crazy, where now they are hiring people to look after these encampments. I was at City Hall the other night, and there was a lady talking there, and she said, yeah, you know what? It would be great if all these places were shut down. And I kind of got upset when she said that. But then she said why. She gave me a good understanding why. These are all just band-aid solutions, what they're putting up right now and in the future. We don't need band-aid solutions. We need housing. Not affordable housing like what they always talk about. What is affordable housing? A sleeping bag with a tarp wrapped around it, with a bungee cord wrapped around that. That is affordable housing on the street. I don't know. They come up with 300 and 400 places for them that they're going to build, but it's not till next spring. They have a 60-bed thing coming out, but not till next spring. That's why I stay on City Hall all the time, and no more deaths, no more loss of lives, limbs, chronic illnesses. That's one thing that I preach to them all the time. You don't realize the shock that people go into when they lose people in their family. I never lost no people in my family yet, but I've had best friends come and die in my house. And I went into shock for 8 days. That's what making me stand up and talk and say, come on, listen, understand us. You guys have credit cards, wallets, bank accounts, grandparents, where you can inherit money. I'm from Sweetgrass First Nations. We have a reserve there, 7 by 11. When I was 20 years old, no, when I was 16 years old, I went home. And I thought, wow, I'm going from foster homes now, I'm going home to my reserve. I'm going to go be with my people. When I got home to my reserve, I was called a little white boy because I didn't understand Cree. I didn't know what Bannock was. I didn't know what rabbit stew was. I was 16 years old, and they all laughed at me and teased me and bullied me and stuff like that. So a few years later, I graduated high school, and I just said, see you later. I didn't want to go through that. There's 30,000 of us, 60 scoop people. No doubt anybody else that got scooped got treated the same way when they went back home. When I left, I had my grade 12, but I worked on my education until I was 48 years old. I got cooking papers, coaching papers, carpentry papers, power engineering papers, ERT, emergency response training. With all of that, it's helped me out on the street because I can talk to people. Also know people that came into town to get an education, to be journeyman carpenters, to be journeyman electricians, to be journeyman plumbers, and they made it. And I was just, wow, good, now, time for a job. Yeah. You go and put in your resume, and they look at you, and you have black hair and brown skin. What is that? Oh, sorry, we don't have no place for you. Sorry, we don't have a job opening. But then they'll hire the next guy that walks through the door. That isn't First Nations. Oh, I've seen a lot of those people, and I've seen a lot of them go downhill because they couldn't get a job. They were educated right to the hilt, but when you can't get a job, what can you do? When you're brown and you have long hair, I fought that for many years, and I'm still facing it out on the street. I'm an activist, and people don't like that because I stand up and talk. People have come up 2 inches from my face trying to punch me or backhand me, and I just stand there because they don't like the truth about Treaty 6 territory, about our people, what has happened to them over the last 500 years. I don't know, maybe they shouldn't have educated me, but I know much history of how we got colonized since 1500, 1600s, how they came across on boats and were getting sick and dying. And they asked us First Nations people to help them, and we did. 500 years later, they've taken over North America, Turtle Island, and we are hurting. All First Nations people are hurting because of what they've done to us. My great-grandfather, FINEDAY, used to run buffalo herds. And he'd go take 5,000 buffalo and he'd take them over to the Cheyenne. He'd take 500 of them and he'd go see Stonies in Alberta. He'd take 1,000 and he'd go down to the States where he'd go he'd make teepees. And that's what they would do. That's how they survived. 500 years later, there's no buffalo left. The only thing what they say is left is bison. And I really have a difficulty with that word. I learned it was buffalo, and it'll always be buffalo to me. They're what we lived on. They were our life. Food, hides to make teepees, bones to make tools. We could pick up our teepee and we could move it over there to the berry bush and get roots and plants and leaves and herbs, and then we could move it and we could go for a winter home where we could find a place where it's not too bad in the wintertime, where there's running water by a river or something, where there's some trees so you could have a nice enclosed encampment. I know of a few places like that where I've been shown, and they're awesome. That being taken away from our people, because we are nomadic. We were always nomadic. And now they put us on a reserve and they say, stay there. All of a sudden that reserve is too full and people come spilling out of there. What do? You go to the big city, you go get a job, you go look for a place to stay. Housing on the reserve isn't the best. So you come to town, you're looking for a job, you're looking for a family, you're looking to make your life. What happens when you're homeless? When they don't renew your lease, when they don't even rent to you, when you don't have the proper paperwork, bank statements, income tax statements, references, that all counts when you're looking for a place. What happens when you don't have that? When you come from the reserve?
That takes us to our first break, but we'll be right back after this. So don't change that channel. You're on CFCR on Homelands with David FINEDAY and Andrea Leving. Sorry about that. That was a bit abrupt.
It's okay.
What's this? You're back on Homelands on CFCR 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory. You're here with Auntie Andy, your host, And just a reminder that we are in Ephesus season, so don't forget to donate to Homelands. Um, and there's amazing prizes. Just go to cfcr.ca/donate and you will see all the details. You can e-transfer CFCR at cfcr.ca and it'll auto deposit. It's so simple. And no Homelands and support us today. We really appreciate that, keeping great programming on community radio. Now we'll take you back to David FINEDAY, who's just telling us about homelessness in his life and in Saskatoon and what that experience is like. So he was just before the break, he was talking about some of the contributions to homelessness, the racism and the history of this place and the many factors that go into homelessness, even people with qualifications and training and education, and they still have trouble finding work, finding a place to rent or buy. I mean, they don't have the assets to buy. They don't have the hereditary wealth because historically the land was taken from them. So and the buffalo were gone, and it's a waterfall effect. So yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, like I was saying before, we had buffalo herds that took care of us. Whatever we needed was there in that buffalo herd. I don't know if you know, buffalo herds used to stretch 50, 60, 70, 80 miles. That would be one herd. And there was herds like that all across Turtle Island. Until we got colonized and they started shooting them and taking away our lifestyle. Now they've taken away our lifestyle and we're homeless out there. If there was still buffalo herds out there, my grandfather, my uncles, my relatives would have went out there and killed 50 buffalo just so they could make teepees for us. Now they expect us to buy or have affordable housing. And I still don't understand that. Buffalo herds were our affordable housing. They were our affordable life. But now being colonized and having all that taken away from us, stripped from us, even the nomadic blood that runs through our veins. I'm nomadic. I love to go here and there and over there and over there. People don't understand that. That's why there's lots of homeless people, because they don't want to stay in one spot. They're nomadic, and that blood runs very thick in our veins. People don't understand that. I'm out here and I'm trying to teach people how we are. I grew up in that race. I grew up like that till I was 16 years old. And then they educated me. And that's what an old man told me. Yeah, I used to go out there and fight and get so pissed off. That no, no man, come sit down here. I said, yeah. He says, don't fight. Don't get mad. Go to school. Learn to read. Learn how to write. Learn how to talk. Learn how to listen. That's going to be your weapon in the future. I had to slow myself down and I listened to that. And it taught me a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from that. And then one time I was 18, I believe, and I was that little white boy on the reserve. And I went to a round dance. And they were trying to do audio on it. They had recorders and mics and everything. And they told these boys, here, go hook these up. And those boys are like on the reserve. Oh, we don't know how to do that. And I said, hey, bring that stuff here. And I went, and I had it all hooked up. That old man, that elder, looks at me and says, who are you? I said, I'm David FINEDAY. And he says, oh, yeah. He says, no, who are you? And he pointed at my chest. And that stuck with me ever since. I'll never forget that. I'll always tell people, who are you? Find yourself. Find who you are, where you come from, your ancestors. That's where you're going to get your strengths from. And that's what I do today. I don't know how to be an elder. I was raised off the reserve, but my mom taught me how to smudge and how to pray. Once I found myself, then I could help people find themselves, help them, talk to them. But I had to learn all of that because I've been through that. I know the feelings that they have, the anger, the everything that's out there. I talk to them lots and it comes out, they cry, they get freaked out, they some of the experiences what has happened to them. Getting sterilized without your permission at the age of 15 years old. Someone come crying to me, tell me that. And we had a whole bunch of people at Smudge and they were all freaked out because she was losing it. I said, do you want to have a smudge? He said, yeah. And I said, okay, we have sage or we have sweetgrass. And I said, women, when we're on their moon time, have to smudge with sage. And she lost it. She started crying and freaking out. They took my womanhood away from me. I can't have kids. I can't do all that. They did that to me. And she was freaking out, and there's lots of people. I had to take her. It took me 10 minutes just to stop her from crying and freaking out. But I finally got to talk to her and say, yeah, it's not your fault. That's what I tell everybody. It's not your fault. It's their fault, what they're doing to us. And that's the truth. I know because I lived through it. I'm 70 years old, and some of the things that have happened to me, I know have happened to other people. Not the same story. Like I said, there's 3,000 people out there. There's 3,000 different stories out there that people have gone through. Sure, there's similarities in there, but mentally, physically, emotionally, there's so many things out there that people can't understand. And until we can get our people to look after us, I don't know if we can move ahead. There's a group out there called Sayway Totem Outreach that I can't say enough about. And if you get a chance to even contact or talk to some of them, they are the greatest people. They are understanding people. They're our relatives, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren want to come back and help us. They see what we went through. Now they're getting an education and they're learning how to talk and see and listen. If you come out this 20th Street, there's two teams that are Sayway Totem Outreach. And they come up to you. You don't have to go begging to them. Can you help me? They'll come up to you. Hey, how are you doing today? You want a coffee? You want to talk? You want a sandwich? That's a whole difference of wanting to help somebody. You don't have to be there. You don't have to grab a paycheck. You want to be there. If people could understand that. Well, I got to go and work for 8 hours with these homeless people. What kind of attitude is that? Should be willing to help anybody out there on the street. If there's, I don't know how to say it. If there's no feelings for these people, then maybe the people who are trying to take care of these homeless people shouldn't be in it. Maybe they're the wrong people. If you've never been homeless, if you've never been lonely, scared, hungry, tired, out on the street, then you don't know what it feels like. That's why I say I invite you to come for a tour with me at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock. Offices are open from 9 to 5. There's a few problems that happen then. But what about that other 18 hours, 15 hours? From 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the morning. That's when a lot of things happen. When people get kicked out of their houses after supper. 12 o'clock, midnight, 6 o'clock in the morning. Where's the justice in that? And then they wonder why there's so much homeless people out there. Like I said, I'm going through that right now. And I had to go to the office of the rentalsman to fill out papers. They wouldn't renew my lease, so I went there and they set up a hearing. It took 2 hours just to go through the paperwork. You have 3,000 different scenarios out there. Will they sit down there with those 3,000 people and do their paperwork and ask them why they're homeless? And then will they pay that $50 fee that you have to pay when you're making your claim at rentalsman? That was only the first part. The second part was they locked me out from the outside key. I had to go back to rentalsman and make application to get my key back. We went there at 3 o'clock, 3:15. And there was like 5 papers to fill out just to get my key back so I could get in the building. We never got out of there till 5 o'clock. And by then it was too late to do anything. So Sayway Totem Outreach, which I can't say enough about, put me up at Confederation Inn for the night. I was supposed to be out of there by 11 in the morning. My phone rang at 9 o'clock and it was the rentalsman. David, go pick up your key. Wow, cool. So I went over to the office and they said, nope, the property manager has it. So I phoned him. Yeah, I'll meet you there in half an hour. I was there in 10-15 minutes, sitting outside waiting for him. He never showed up. There was a guy sitting on the steps. So I went up and did he show up? He says, yeah, he came here quite a while ago. I said, who are you? I said, I'm David. He's supposed to give me a key. He opened up his hand. Here, I'm supposed to give that to you. And he gave me the key, not the property manager that kicked me out and called me a effing rat and everything. After having all that done and said to me, what is the compensation on that? What can I say so that I feel better from what he said to me, how he talked to me? No land manager, land property manager, whatever, should ever talk to any of anybody like that. So I'm presently homeless. I'm squatting in my apartment, and I have another court or hearing on the 29th. I had to subpoena the fire department. I have handwritten things from people that I want to take. I run a smudge on program and I run 24/7. People always come and see me for sweetgrass, for sage, for cedar, for prayers, just to come and sit there and talk to me and tell me their problems. And that's what they're using against me. So I don't know. People don't realize what you go through when you're homeless. I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen on the 29th. I'm blind. I'm 70 years old. Am I going to be the next one out there on the street? gonna be snow on the ground pretty soon. I'm scared if I'm out there, am I gonna freeze to death? Am I gonna get a chronic illness? Am I gonna lose a limb? Scary. Am I gonna get robbed if I'm homeless? Am I gonna get beat up? There's a lot of things that we have to deal with. And it's scary. I've been out there. There's homeless people out there, but there's also the criminal element out there, which comes down on you, comes down on everybody. And you can't run away from it, it's there. After all these years of colonization and making us homeless, making us everything from this residential scoop to the 60s scoop to millennium scoop to the scoop that's still happening today. When you're 18 years of age, you're out there. You don't have nothing. You were taken away from your parents, from your relatives, and you're put into some home. And then at 18, it's boom, you're out of there. What do you have? A lot of these kids that come from communities, they have grandparents, they have parents, they have credit cards, they have inheritances, they have houses that they inherited. That's why you don't see too many of them out there. But that was all taken away from us First Nations people. So how do we get it back? I work on smudge walks. I talk to the people anytime, day, night, whatever. I wish there would be other people that would come out there and do the same thing. Not psychiatrists. We don't need psychiatrists. $500, $600 an hour psychiatrists. We need people just to sit there and listen, just like I do. I listen, and then if I can guide them this way or that way, or to help them, that's what they need. They don't need to be told, go over there, get out of here. They say, come in, let's help you, let's do something. That's why I can't say enough for Say Wait Till Outreach. When they I reached out and I fell into their arms, I guess you could say. But they helped me, oh, like you wouldn't believe it. When I was down and out, I was crying to them. I was lost. When you're told you're out of here, what do? Somebody come up to you right now, your landlord, and said, you're out of here. What goes through your head? Where are you going to sleep tonight? Where are you going to eat? Where are you going to go have a shower? Where are you going to change your clothes? Where are you going to get a blanket to wrap yourself in to sleep on the street? A lot of those things go through our people's head. They don't want to be treated like they were treated growing up. No respect. Racism, anger, being called down, being put down. Nobody wants to go through that again. Once you've gone through that for 8, 10, 12 years, you don't want that no more. I go out there now and I try to make people laugh. I'm try to be a comedian and try and break that ice so they can break down and they can talk to me, because it's not every day that somebody can let out their feelings, their tears, their heart. If you could go out there and go talk to them, just go listen to a story and then ask them, okay, well, how would you feel better? What do you need to feel better? What do you need for your life to make it better? Maybe they have addictions problems. Maybe they have mental health problems that comes from the past. the way that they were dealt with, the way that they were treated. I know that because that's where I come from. It took me a lot to find out who I was, who David FINEDAY was. I tried helping people, but I could never help them because I could never understand why I was the way I am. But now I understand, and I can go out and help other people understand where they came from, why they are the way they are. And say we Toten Outreach does that. They need more and more of us First Nations people to go out there and talk to us. That's a crucial thing, because that's a healing journey when you can go out there and you can take one person and you can sit them down and talk to them eye to eye, not look down on them or anything. Talk with them eye to eye and learn where they came from, learn what happened to them. Listen, feel those feelings of hurt, of being lost, of no love. Once you can understand that, then you can understand where we come from. My history, the history I learned of Turtle Island is really something, especially on the East Coast. From my learning in school, in the 1500s and 1600s and 1700s, there were boatloads of criminals that they sent to the New World. Boatloads of them. If you don't want to go to jail, if you don't want to get hanged, you jump on that boat and you go to that New World. So you figure the whole East Coast is built on criminals. Boatloads of them. So I don't know. That's what I learned. I don't know if anybody else learned that, but that's what I learned. That's what stuck in my head. And now our governments are running like that. From people, criminals, crooks, whatever. I don't know. I have to stand up and tell that to our people because we've always been called down and this and that. But once they learn the real history, what happened, maybe they'll understand how they can help us. Not say, here, do this, do that. They got billions of dollars out there. Yeah, here, this is for homeless people. This is for homeless people. But when it gets down to it, do you see anything out there on the street? Come for a walk. I don't see a penny out there on the street from all those billions of dollars. I was at a meeting at City Hall the other night, and the lady stood up and said, you know what? They should just shut all these centers down. I was like, what? Says, yeah. If they shut all these care centers, all that down, then they would put people in housing instead of a band-aid solution. Yep, come and sleep on my floor. Come and sleep on my cot. Sure, it is a good thing that they are helping them, but they're not putting them in housing. They're leaving them out there on the street. And they're supplying them with more money so that they can stay on the street. That's the way I understand it. What they say, $15 billion or something is out for Canada. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta. What happened to Saskatchewan? It's really something. If they have all that money, they should be able to make affordable housing. Whatever that is for a Caucasian person. We come from the reserve. Once we leave the reserve, we don't have no help, no support, nothing. So how can we get affordable housing? I think at my reserve, if I want to buy a house, they'll give me $3,000 for a down payment. What is that? They usually want $20,000-$30,000 for down payments. Nobody can get that. You get put on a list at the reserve for housing. There's 156 people on the list looking for houses at my reserve. With all those billions of dollars coming out, how come they're not supporting all these reserves? Buying them 20 houses every year instead of 2 houses, 3 houses a year. When there's 20 families coming out of a reserve every year, 2 houses doesn't cut it. A lot of the reserves are, they have homeless people camping on reserves now. Nobody wants to look after them. Nobody wants to step up and say, hey, you need a house. I'd rather say, hey, you need a teepee? I'd say, yep. Well, let's go kill 10 buffalo and let's make a teepee for you. Instead of spending 200,000, 500,000 on an affordable house. That's what gets me. They always talk about affordable housing. Out of those 3,000 people out there on the street, who can afford a house? Who can afford a house out there? That's why they're homeless. They're educated, they're smart people, but when you get put down, turn around and shot down, what do? You become homeless. When you get evicted from your house, when they won't renew your lease, when you don't have the right paperwork, income tax forms, references, bank statements, ID.
Yeah, all the paperwork.
It's all, yeah, it's horrendous.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending an hour with us today, David FINEDAY on Homelands, and a reminder to donate to cfcr.ca/donate, or you can e-transfer CFCR at cfcr.ca and it will automatically be deposited. And thank you for supporting Homelands and CFCR in our annual fundraising, which keeps community radio on the air. This has been Homelands. Join us 2 weeks from now for our next episode. And thank you so much. Take care.